It's disrupting community. And to bear witness to that happening in real time, where you see people getting snatched, where you see people, like, it's just changing the culture of DC, is really heartbreaking. And I wonder for the mayor where her moral code is.
Understand that you got to work with Republicans or whoever is in charge. However, if you scared, say you scared. And if you scared, you should not be the mayor of Washington, D.C. There are plenty of people who we have to work collaboratively and across the aisle. But when that becomes the outright lack of representation for the people who are feeling terrorized, the ones that elect you directly to represent them, then that's where the rub is for me.
Given the fact that I had the great opportunity to work for the conscience of the Congress, that's what we call the Congressional Black Caucus, is that they've always been very clear about their line in the sand. Sometimes it takes negotiation to get on the same page, but we are in a moment where you cannot cooperate with fascism. You have to know in your mind what fascism looks like, be clear about defining it, and then saying, here's what my response to fascism will be. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. Welcome home, y'all. This is episode I'm about to say Native Pod. Okay, let me try again. Leave that in there. It is episode Native Pod. Anyway, this is episode 95 of Native Land Pod, where we give you our breakdown of all things politics and culture. It's a lot happening in the culture. There's a lot happening in politics. We are your hosts, Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, and Andrew Gillum. What are we talking about today, y'all? It's so much going on.
I with everything going on, I do want to get into this Cardi B trial because I think she taught a masterclass and how to handle herself on the witness stand. So it's a lot of seriousness going on, but I think this is a worthy topic.
1,000% agree over here. Love Cardi B. For real. Tiff, Angela, I want to get into this conversation that we began last week, actually, and we've been talking about for a minute. And this is this assault by the Trump administration on American cities. Just want to preview what's coming up and how two very important mayors of two very important places have a disagreement about the approach.
Absolutely. And I also want to talk about Cardi and the mayors. I'm actually surprised, y'all, but I really want to spend some time diving into what's going on with the Epstein files. I've been made privy to some things that I think we should share with our audience about why this is actually very important. So I hope to lean into that. And if y'all have ideas about what we should be talking about every week, you should make sure that you rate, review, subscribe, and let us know. We take your videos, your questions, your comments. Y'all are part of our family. So definitely send that in. Let's get into it.
Hello, Native Land Podcast. My name is Nicole Buchanan. I am a professor and a psychologist, and I focus on trauma and the ways that individuals and organizations can make changes so that all of us can thrive. I just watched your podcast about the Epstein files, and I think there's an issue that nobody's really talking about that just might explain why out of all of Trump's scandals, this finally seems to be the thing that is breaking MAGA. And that is, for many, child sexual abuse is deeply personal. Imagine a classroom of, say, 20 kids. We can expect that at least 2 of the girls and 1 of the boys will be sexually assaulted, molested, or raped by their 18th birthday, and usually by somebody that they know and trust. Over half of all adult women, about a third of adult men, will experience sexual violence in their lifetimes. So while most of us can't wrap our head around most of Trump's scandals, like accepting a luxury jet, the abuse of children is deeply personal. People know that feeling of wishing someone had saved them or had saved their loved ones, which means Trump's violation this time is deeply, deeply personal. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and thank you for taking a moment to hear mine.
It's very powerful.
I'm so grateful for that question, Dr. Buchanan. I think that she might have tapped into something. Love to hear you all's responses, and then we can jump right into this.
I disagree with her. And just in transparency, when before we do this show, the 3 of us as co-hosts get on a call and talk about what we're going to talk about. And so when Angela said this, I was like, I don't think so. I think this is, an issue that we're being My thought is we're being led by the nose by the people who believed in the Pizzagate scandal. That's not to dismiss what's happening with Epstein, but I'm curious, what evidence is there that there is a fracture in Trump support because of this issue? Yes, people are complaining about it. Yes, people are on the internet, but we've already known Trump is a liar. And that has not scared his base away. We've already known he's inappropriate with women. That did not scare his base away. We know that he's been inappropriate with children. That did not scare his base away. We knew this in 2015 and 2016 when he would oversee the Miss Teen USA pageant. There was countless evidence then of him going into the dressing room, making inappropriate comments to the young girls, then touching them then. And I just think this is all, a little bit of bullshit. Obviously the victims, and I know, Angela, you were moved by some really compelling testimony that I definitely want to hear. But I think if his base were truly concerned about sexual assault, there have been countless times where they could have spoken up. For example, one of the largest shelters of migrant children in Texas, Southwest Key Programs, was accused and found liable for enabling the sexual abuse of children and minors. This was a huge deal. They had worked with the federal government for more than 2 decades. They were housing underage migrants for the federal government, which was a financial boon for contractors. There was money into basically grabbing these children and keeping them in these shelters. It was one of several providers that cashed in as the administration found shelter for more than 5,000 children forced into federal custody. Where, I ask, was all of this outrage from Trump supporters then? It did not happen then. I do not anticipate that it will happen now, unless, of course, we're saying it only matters when white children are sexually abused. Furthermore, right now, these same people who are protesting Epstein, these same people have said nothing about the more than 30,000 children that are missing and lost in the system, that are migrant children, and that makes them more susceptible to being trafficked. Right now, the Trump administration, just last month, a federal judge had to strike down because he was trying to send 600 unaccompanied minors, some as young as 10 years old, back to their home country of Guatemala, where there was no guarantee where they would be cared for. This was on the heels of him sending more children into the pipeline of being deported. This has been happening across both administrations from 2018 to 2023. The Homeland Security Inspector General found, we don't even know the exact amount, but found that there are tens of thousands of missing children. So obviously we don't disagree on the seriousness of sexual abuse. My only point is, if we cared about sexual abuse, this is something that we could have been talking about for years. If we cared about this administration being a liar and not caring about children for years, this is something. So I've just not seen the evidence that his base is going to abandon him over Epstein. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. I hope I'm wrong on this subject. We'll see.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew. Yeah, I want to get into hearing from some of these voices, but go for it.
Real quick. One, Dr. Buchanan, I appreciate what you opened our eyes to with the research and, frankly, the very brilliant way in which you delivered it. You can very much so tell you work with students. But Tiff, I don't know that I disagree with you about whether this is a permanent fracture in the Trump base and whether it will be consequential enough for them to stay home during the midterms or in any way defect in serious numbers from him. I think on that point, I probably agree with you. But thinking back to the episode, I remember just saying, I don't know how this thing has got such legs. I'm shocked that it's got the kind of traction that it has. And I think Dr. Buchanan was probably in part responding to the fact that given just the rank numbers of this, of how many men, boys, girls who are now women and men have had sexual assault, in their lives in a very real, personal way. And we could probably, between the three of us, imagine that a number of those, and I don't know what the percentage is, probably went unreported. Yeah. And so to now be at this moment where it's being thrust in your face in such an overt and obvious way, you're aware of what Epstein did and who his riding partners were. you feel in some ways probably pretty, jaded, dejected, but more than anything, interpersonally, very personally, with these individuals, a real sense of betrayal and failure that maybe you thought you were going to be heard, or stories like yours would be heard, and now all of a sudden, again, it's being swept under the rug.
I want to hear from them.
And to that point, there was an NBC news, like almost like a focus group style conversation with Epstein survivors and some of the victims' family members. So I want us to first roll a clip from one of the victims' brothers.
Oh, sorry. She should be here. I am so honored to be here with you guys. She would be here. She'd be screaming, And I think, they said it best. It's like, if I could really say what we're looking for out of this is justice, looking for accountability. And I think it's, we really have to start questioning, what do we stand for? So, it means the world to be here with you, all of you. And, I think this is only the beginning of what's really to come, because showing a force like this, they have to listen now.
And I want to also go to one of the survivors herself, who spoke to the impact of what happened to her under the care, or the watch, rather.
Going through stuff like this, especially as an adult, it brings up a lot of mental health issues. And I've thought of hurting myself, and not now, but, over the last 6 or so years, just going through all this. And it's hard. And I know that if I have those thoughts and Virginia has those thoughts and we're victims, how many more of us do we have to lose?
Virginia, who is referenced here, took her own life after suffering under the weight of this for many, many years. Wendy referenced 6 years, but they have been dealing with this since they were 14 years old. One of the things that you hear from a survivor who's going to play now is why they may need to take justice into their own hands.
Show of hands, did any of you hear from the Justice Department before they released that memo, that 2-page memo earlier this summer? No hands. Were any of you told that Todd Blanche would be speaking with Ghislaine Maxwell prior to that interview over the course of 2 days?
No.
No. Were any of you told about the prison transfer that Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
Do any of you feel that the DOJ has communicated with you enough this year?
No.
Have any of you had any communication with the DOJ?
No.
Nobody in this room has heard at all from the Department of Justice?
No.
Is that surprising to you?
No.
No. It should be.
It should, yeah.
Right?
It should be, you would think.
It's their job. This is the center of this whole entire case. They are the center. Why would you... Ghislaine Maxwell, let's get this right before the narrative changes. And I believe that so strongly that is the intent of her. She's trying to rewrite history.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it was almost like she was given that platform to do that. Mm-hmm. And that is not acceptable on any terms. She wasn't just this co-conspirator and that was her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. She was actively participant. She preyed upon these young girls and she used her womanhood to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, Virginia said it best. She was vicious. She was a monster. Mm-hmm. She doesn't deserve any type of platform.
But I wanted to play those clips because I think it is important. One, for me, I think that when you hear Epstein's name over and over and over again, you get to a point where you almost just harden your heart. And to the point of the question we received from Dr. Buchanan, there are a number of people that suffer in silence around child sexual abuse because they are ashamed. They feel like they did something wrong. Many of the victims that I talked to, some in my own family, feel like it would just be easier to pretend like it disappears, something that also comes up in that segment. But one place where they may be able to get justice is in the halls of Congress because they are not taking no for an answer. They are pushing. And we saw some of this after a briefing that was held earlier this week.
But I want to be clear that what we heard today is a cover-up. And it is a cover-up of epic proportions, a cover-up involving the United States government, the justice system, rich and powerful individuals, a cover-up potentially involving foreign countries and foreign actors. And yes, here today in this House, as our colleagues are up in the House chamber in the Rules Committee, a cover-up by the Republicans in this chamber. Because as you will find out in the coming days and weeks, this goes all the way to the top. So let's be clear about that. There has been a systemic failure of the justice system for decades. A systemic failure to hold people who are powerful and have money to account, and that has allowed not just hundreds but potentially thousands of women, not only in the United States but around the world, to be bought, sold, and trafficked for sex, not only by Jeffrey Epstein but by his associates and his rich and powerful friends. And as these stories come forward, whether they're stories that have already been told, they're stories in those FBI files that have not been released by the Department of Justice and which they must release because of the subpoena, or whether they are stories of victims that have not yet come forward, we will hold you all accountable.
And I think the other thing that's interesting here, y'all, Tiff, I know you're getting up and sitting down. You can stay sitting for 2 more clips. There is one that I think that we should witness from another person on another side of the aisle. This is one that surprised me a little bit. So Nancy Mace, you see her walking down the hallway. She's actually in tears, and she responds to this clip. And she says on Twitter yesterday or earlier this week, since it's already being reported, yes, I left the oversight briefing with Epstein victims early. As a recent survivor, not 2 years in, I had a very difficult time listening to their stories, full-blown panic attack, sweating, hyperventilating, shaking, I can't breathe. And I definitely think we should hear from another member of Congress who's a dear sister to this show on what she thinks looks like the next steps must be.
Today's roundtable, again, it was necessary, it was long overdue, and it was very powerful. And it is why I continue to call for a congressional hearing, because their stories need to be a part of a congressional record, and the entire public needs to understand just how systemic and how far and wide and how deep this institutional betrayal goes. For people that would wonder, how high are the stakes here? This is a matter of life and death. Because Virginia Giuffre took her life after decades of failure, and there are victims that can no longer come forward because they're in a fetal position, so broken by the weight of what they've been carrying, shame that they've been carrying when it is not their shame to carry. So Virginia Giuffre took her life because of the institutional, consecutive failures and betrayals of our government. So this is a matter of life and death.
A matter of life and death. So I just wanted you all to sit with that, to see it. I agree with Tiff that I don't know that it is a significant fracture in the MAGA base, but what I do know is that there are people at home on both sides of the aisle and everywhere in between who have either been a party to sexual assault, have experienced what it's like to be violated, and to have to hold that as if it is your own baggage to hold. And I just think that this is one of those moments that can, if they are able to properly break through, if they are able to have these folks, DOJ, respond to the subpoena the way that they should, when Congress issues a subpoena, that maybe they may get a little bit of justice. These folks were pleading for justice on NBC News, as we saw. And I think that the only way that they're able to get any type of just recourse is by having advocates like the ones we saw in Congress fighting to ensure that maybe they don't get their day in court, but at least they get their day in the halls of Congress with a hearing.
Well, just for context, earlier this year, Congresswoman Nancy Mace took to the House floor and accused her ex-fiance and ex-boyfriends, and she detailed her experience with sexual assault and sexual abuse. So I anticipated that this would be a painful exchange for her. And I do not dismiss her experience at all. But realistically, Nancy Mace is a Trump sycophant and votes with him more than 90% of the time. Again, I don't know that this would highlight any sort of fracture. Trump's DOJ, we already know, cannot be trusted. Pam Bondi told Donald Trump that his name was in the Epstein files multiple times. Donald Trump just decided, I don't like that story, so I'm just going to say that conversation never happened. But that's according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal. He lies routinely. And so, again, I think my heart goes out to any victims of sexual abuse, but I just note how so often we will skip past 32,000 missing children or actual documented sexual abuse of children from Southwest Key programs. And again, this is well documented. It was reported in the New York Times several times. And I think there is this undercurrent of, one, this was so salacious because Republicans thought the Clintons were attached to this. And this is how this became a big deal. And then it resurfaced because the echo chambers focused solely on Epstein. When 300,000 plus Black women lost their jobs, it was not a breaking news banner for weeks at a time. As people are being kidnapped off the street, the context is presented as both sides. As the unemployment rate disproportionately impacts Black men as well, that's not a breaking news banner. As our food systems, our democratic core principles are eroding, that's not the breaking news banner. So the media has really spoon-fed the Epstein case. And I just feel like it deserves equal. If we're going to talk about it, then let's talk about the role of separating families and how that fed children into being trafficked. Let's care about all the kids who are going through sexual abuse. And I just haven't seen that. And I certainly haven't seen any evidence that the Epstein thing is going to be the thing to bring down MAGA. So I don't mean to be dismissive, but I do hear myself and I do feel like a cynic in this case. I definitely have all the empathy, and I think justice should be pursued on behalf of the victims for sure. No doubt about that. But I just look at the hypocrisy across the landscape. And I think a false hope that people think, oh, this is it. This is going to be the thing. And I don't think it will. And I also don't think a lot of these people care about Latino children who are being sexually abused as we speak. Take to the streets for that. Protest that. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who voted for Trump in this policy, shed some tears for that. And then I think that would be a more authentic conversation.
Yeah. And Andrew, I know you have something to say. I just want to say for the record, for the folks listening at home, we definitely don't condone any sexual assault or sexual violence. And for all survivors of these traumatic experiences, our hearts go out to you. I am grateful that on this show, we can talk about the folks who are being separated from their families and all of that. But in this particular container, which is an Epstein Files container, that we can also urge for Congress to do its work. To not go on recess early to avoid doing its work. And when you return, the fact that there are members like Ayanna Pressley, like Melanie Stansbury, and even in this case, yes, Nancy Mace, who are not going to let it fall by the wayside. I think it is very, very important that we're able to separate those things. We got a couple of other issues to get to today that are different. It's not Oppression Olympics. We have to make sure that we hold space for all of these things because everyone is going through it in some real ways. And yes, these young women who were suffering at the hands of this, a few were on that stage, but there are hundreds of these women. They deserve to be heard and they deserve justice as well. Andrew, I didn't mean to jump in before you.
After all you said, I would just say, and it's okay to prioritize those traumatic experiences in your lives when it comes to making political decisions as well. I think a lot of times, because of the weight of the shame that you carry, you push so much of this stuff down. I mean, I think about, when I was ready to admit complicity to everything under the sun just to avoid feeling like I was ever a victim of something. And so you convince yourself that you don't want to be in a helpless place. And sometimes that convincing can take so much of a toll that folks have, resorted to taking their lives. I think hopefully if this is a moment maybe it is a moment to get some real change along the lines of this issue and break through this this completely partisan, MAGA, craziness to get some real stuff done. If that's where it leads to, then I think that would be a form of redemption, a form of accountability for those who are survivors. But if it continues to be played like a political football, then I fear that the only thing that's at the end of that tunnel is more hurt, more pain, more excuses, and frankly, more very powerful men and powerful people being able to have their way, any kind of way, with anybody, anytime, anywhere, and be able to avoid accountability for it.
It is happening right now.
So with that, we know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And with that, speaking of what's happening right now, we also know that there is a lot happening where Tiff resides in the District of Columbia. I want to get into what Muriel Bowser had to say about Trump's occupation just last week.
Our North Star is protecting home rule and the district's autonomy in all things, especially during this last 8 months, where it has been clear that our autonomy has kind of been in the crosshairs. That's our North Star. Since the beginning of this federal surge of officers, it has always been my focus on, we didn't ask for any federal officers, we're driving crime down, but while they're here, how can we most strategically use them to accelerate the work that MPD has done? So that's our point. The next point is, how do we exit from this emergency that the president declared? We know what the law says. He can declare it for just about anything. It runs 30 days unless the Congress stops it. I thought I made it very clear. What has not worked during this period of time is ICE terrorizing communities, especially with masks, and especially not having enough information about where people are. I've said that repeatedly. I'll say it again. What hasn't worked, in my opinion, and hasn't been efficient and is not on mission is National Guard troops, especially from other states.
So imagine our surprise when this was last week, but imagine our surprise when on September 2nd, there was an order created, the creation of the Safe and Beautiful Emergency Operations Center. This is guidance from the Office of the Mayor. The mayor's order is 2025 for 2025-090. And she, in this statement, or in this order, says in Section 2, there is established the Safe and Beautiful Emergency Operations Center, whereby they will be coordinating with United States Marshal Service, the FBI, the United States Park Police, the DEA, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the United States Capitol Police, and the Secret Service. And let me tell you when you always know you found yourself on the wrong side of the truth. When Caroline Leavitt tweets and says the Trump administration is... I'm getting there. The Trump administration is grateful to continue partnering with Mayor Bowser to make D.C. the safest city in the country. The mayor's fellow Democrats should take note. Working with President Trump means safer communities and less crime. No one in their right mind could seriously oppose that. And yet, Caroline, no one in their right mind could agree with you, friend. So now I want to turn to a young activist who was recently detained under this craziness. Her name is Afeni. She's involved with Free DC, and she had this to say about Muriel Bowser's pivot.
This occupation has emboldened an already overzealous police presence to increase their brutality and their subjugation against district residents. And no matter what the mayor says, the city of DC is not grateful for the influx of illegal stops and searches. The city of DC is not grateful, not thankful for the militarization of an unaccountable police force or performative patrols by Trump and his administration.
So I just think it's so important in this moment for us to understand what it looks like to be on the right side of history and on the wrong side of history. Right now, sadly, I believe the Black woman mayor of Washington, D.C. is on the wrong side of history. And I don't know who she thinks, what she thinks she's doing, what the strategy is here. We talk often about no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. Maybe she thinks this is a permanent interest thing, but if she talks to her residents, I don't think that a lot of people see this in their interest. I'd love to hear what y'all think.
I have a question for Andrew.
Go ahead,
You may be about to answer it, but because you were a mayor, I mean, DC is a little different because it's home to the federal government and we don't have the autonomy that Tallahassee did. But I'm just curious, because you were a mayor, do you think that she handled this correctly? And if you were the mayor of Washington, D.C., how might you have handled it?
I appreciate the question. There are some differences, although we are both capital cities. Tallahassee, Florida is home to the center seat of government for the state of Florida. And at least for all of my adulthood, my politics have been opposite of that of the government in charge here in Florida. Yet and still, I don't know how. I keep thinking, y'all, you know me, I'm going to try to look at the glass half full if I possibly can on her behalf, which is to say, maybe she's doing some jujitsu, right? Like taking the energy that he's putting towards her and like reversing that thing and playing with his head in some way. And that behind the scenes, there is some masterful plan going on where she is being able to meet with members of Congress who have say-so over her district, the District of Columbia, and is pocketing a hell of a lot of cash to then be reinvested in the city, the District of Columbia, in the types of programs that really do go toward reducing crime over the long haul. What we learned from the mayor of Chicago when he was giving national interviews, and still is, of course, is that he said, don't just throw money at me, throw the right kind of money, throw the right kind of resources. Don't pull numbers out of the air. Let's deal with the facts that we have and then the data that then suggests that if we put the money here, it'll take us a lot further. The mayor of D.C. has me very much flummoxed and confused. I don't know how, as a sitting mayor, one, you take it as a helpmate when the federal government essentially comes in and says you're doing a terrible job. And in fact, it's so terrible that we have to access and tap into a very little known and little used law to come in and do the job that you have failed to do. I believe Mayor Bowser is a 3-term mayor, maybe? Certainly 2 terms. Maybe on her 4th. I'm not real sure.
I think it's 3.
But all I'm saying is with that much tenure under your belt, municipal government with the responsibility of seeing to the safety of your citizens, I take it as a real insult. Okay, fine. Now I'm over ego and I'm dealing with the fact that any surge that they could possibly produce for you is one that is not one that you can hold over the long term. And so what happens is after 30 days and maybe another 30-day extension and maybe a few more after that, the problem then comes back to you. And what do you think you're going to get? Because the material conditions on the ground of homelessness and poverty and mental health and people working a job that they can get paid to keep a roof over their head and food on the table, clothes on their backs, those things are still lacking. And on top of that, you got 300 plus Black women out of work, a lot of them based in Washington, D.C.
100,000, 300,000.
So I'm sorry, I hope I said 300,000. If I didn't, 300,000 plus, and the number is growing. So the conditions, again, material conditions on the ground are going to be abhorrent. And then it will appear again that you are incapable of doing your job. And what makes me really frustrated about the way in which this is now being handled by the mayor is that it gives them the wrong message and it sends the wrong policy prescript to these folks that you can just boost us for a couple of months with a bunch of military and so we look like a police state, drive our numbers down, and then that's going to be considered success. When in truth, on the other side of that is those numbers are going up. And I guarantee you they will be much higher than they were before the federal government ever entered that territory.
Yeah. Tiff?
I have more questions than I do thoughts here. Andrew, again, what you just laid out, Donald Trump is already saying, and we've been telling our viewers, this is coming soon to a city near you. So this was ground zero. how our leaders responded can cast a wide net of influence across
sure.
the country. And again, I do just want to punctuate that DC is in a unique position because it is essentially
sure.
controlled by Congress. I wonder what piece of advice, Andrew, that you would give to the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott, the mayor of Oakland, former Congresswoman Barbara Lee. So that's my first question for you. And then my question for Angela, because of your years of experience on Capitol Hill, what, if anything, can and should the Democratic leadership be doing to protect these predominantly Black cities, specifically Washington, D.C., since they live here as well? So however y'all
appreciate it, Tiff. And I'll go real quick, Angela, and pass it on to you. And that is one, I understand the uniqueness of the position of Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, which should be a state. Understand that you got to work with Republicans or whoever is in charge. However, if you scared, say you scared. And if you scared, you should not be the mayor of Washington, D.C. There are plenty of people who we have to work collaboratively and across the aisle. But when that becomes the outright lack of representation for the people who are feeling terrorized, the ones that elect you directly to represent them, then that's where the rub is for me. That there ain't anybody out there that I have to work with so much so that I then take the priorities of those individuals or that institution over the priorities of the people who elected me duly to serve as their representative voice, their protector, their keeper, their father of the city or mother of the city for the time in which you have it. That's where it ends for me. It starts and ends right there. You're in service to them, not the other way around. And then as mayors, I would say one, I think the mayor of Chicago has been doing an incredible job in trying to forecast, getting out there before Trump and his people ever are able to. They've been basically laying out, look, this is what they're going to do. Let me tell you why it is that they're coming here. And let me tell you what instructions I'm giving to law enforcement around non-cooperation under such circumstances. These are going to be resources available to you, so on and so forth. I would say Mayor Karen Bass, who really was at the tip of this spear, also had to act in really real time. And what did they do? They activated neighborhood networks to keep communities safe, alarm systems that were intended to inform as many people as you can. Look, they're here, they're on this block, avoid it, do this, do that. And by the way, they did just win the court battle that the president overstepped his boundaries in sending military troops there in the way in which he did. And I think that's the same ruling that will be held when he goes to Chicago should that instance occur. But I think they are doing well. I would just say know the law and know what your limitations as well as your where your opportunities may exist to, one, keep your people protected, but two, to put the government back on its heels. Because I guarantee you, the way in which the mayor and the governor of Illinois and Chicago and the county executive have been handling this, I believe that they have probably changed the government's plans probably multiple times since their announcement that they were going into Chicago around the timing, the place, the choosing of when they would do so.
I appreciate what you're saying, Andrew, and Tiff. I also thank you for the question. I think that what I would say, given the fact that I had the great opportunity to work for the conscience of the Congress, that's what we call the Congressional Black Caucus, is that they've always been very clear about their line in the sand. Sometimes it takes negotiation to get on the same page, but we are in a moment where you cannot cooperate with fascism. You have to know in your mind what fascism looks like, be clear about defining it, and then saying, here's what my response to fascism will be. Here's my alternative to what fascism is. You cannot say, well, I guess I've got to be quiet because we sure want this stadium moved here. Well, I guess I got to be quiet because we sure got this budget to pass. The budget is not going to serve your constituents or your residents in D.C. if they all locked up because they decided that somebody didn't pay their metro fare, or they decided that somebody was standing around too long loitering, or they decided that because you are Black with locks, you are inherently violent and criminal. And so there has to be a very, very clear line in the sand. And I just don't see that. And I'm actually really, really sad because I was looking forward to someone who calls herself the mentee of Marion Barry to stand up the way we would expect Marion Barry to stand up, I guarantee you that this is not Marion Barry's response. I guarantee you that he would find courage where it's hard. I guarantee you that he would not sink into cowardice. And I'm so sad to say, I am devastated to say that that is what Muriel Bowser is doing. Now, she can go on air and say, y'all don't really understand what this executive order does. Y'all aren't clear about what I'm saying here. You know, I have to comply with this man because technically they oversee me. But I will tell you this. Sure, even in slavery, there was a tactic to comply with an overseer, but there was always a red line in the sand, and she better find hers quick, because right now we are on sinking sand. And Tiff, the way that you shed tears last week on the podcast, there are so many people who are experiencing that same heartache, that same trauma, that same confusion about where we go from here. And if Muriel Bowser is not going to protect the people of DC, she is making it so much harder for all of those other mayors. I am over the excuse about jurisdiction. This is not a jurisdictional fight. This is a fight for the soul of this country, and is a fight against fascism. And if she don't know what time it is, look, Flavor Flav.
That's
okay.
So that's part of my challenge here, because one, to bear witness to unmarked cars with men out of uniform rolling out the car and watching people scatter. Like, this is taking place behind my building, around my building. To see, like, there are areas, you know, I may have talked about this, I can't remember, but it's like old people just hanging out on the corner, you know, in the public housing area that's right next to my building, and people will just sit out there all day long, like in their 60s, just longtime residents of DC who lived in this area long before it was cool to live here. Okay. Long before it became the hot spot, long before it became a hot spot for gentrifiers. There's like a little old dude in a wheelchair with a cute little pit bull who sells Lucy's, you know, and all those people are gone. It's disrupting community. And to bear witness to that happening in real time, where you see people getting snatched, where you see people, like, it's just changing the culture of DC, is really heartbreaking. And I wonder for the mayor where her moral code is, because this is the question that I have for anybody who is confronting situations like this. We have no evidence of capitulating to Donald Trump gaining you anything. It does not gain you anything. Right. So even her doing this, even her making these remarks, this doesn't mean that next week he'll just decide, I want to take over DC. We're removing the mayor. You know, all these rules and processes are pixie dust. So we're done with her. So a part of me feels like, had she gone in that microphone and told Donald Trump he could kiss her natural black ass, and this is what we're going to do in DC, the end result may have been the same. So if the end result is typically going to be the same as it normally is with Donald Trump, then why not be a revolution? Why not stand up and say, no, I will hold the line. You may take my position of power, but you will not take my power as a Black woman in this moment. So it's disappointing. And I hope people seeing this, because one of the remarks that the young lady made was, congratulations, Mayor Bowser, you're a fascist too. So for me, I would rather sacrifice my career on the altar of righteous indignation around what's happening before I would cling to it in favor of appeasing this white supremacist who is enacting policies that we as Black people know all too well from enslavement, from slave catchers, from post-Reconstruction, from Jim Crow, from the 80s and 90s to mandatory minimums and all the ways that we've always been ensnared in systems like this. So it's disappointing. And I am fighting the depression that comes from that, from seeing people lay down and roll over. I don't have that. I don't have that spirit in me. I don't think I ever will. But it's sad.
You're made of sterner things.
Yeah, and I am so pleased to be with two people who don't have that spirit either. But
you know what, Tiff?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's also because you know you don't always have to be made of sterner things. Sometimes the sterner things just flow through you because somebody has done it before you, right?
Yeah.
I remember just thinking in so many instances, like, you know what, others have survived this, others have pushed through this, others have come to the other side, and now I can see a little bit more than maybe what they could at the time. But with everything you said, I want to ditto it and just also add at the end where you were going, which is this is the last thing the people of DC need at this moment, is to feel like they are being left again to Trump and his minions' own devices with no protection at their back, at their front, at their side. They're looking and they can't find it in their government. And that's a goddamn shame for a place that voted overwhelmingly for Joe Biden, and better than that, for a community of people who get stepped on every single day as a community. And now they want to add one more name to the list of enemies of who they are, who they are, where they come from, where they live, the place that they love. And that's the mayor of that city. And that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
I just want to, sorry. I'll be really quick. Y'all know I'm staying in the comments. So I look at the comments on YouTube especially. And sometimes I have to go back and think like, well, what did they say? And a lot of people were saying, Andrew, you were preaching today. And Andrew, we love you. And Andrew, we still need you in Florida. Andrew, please run again. You know, you always get that. And when I sit here and look at this, and I'm just looking at y'all on my screen, sadly, because we're not in person. We out here doing this podcast like it's COVID. But I'm sitting here looking at y'all.
The way our bank account is set up.
Okay. Our bank account got COVID. But Andrew,
it's got some long COVID.
I know, like when you were running after DeSantis, the stupid or whatever, seized control of Florida, like at every single point, they were throwing everything at you. And never once did you say, okay, I'm going to come out and make a statement that DeSantis is the best person ever. I'm going to come out and endorse Trump. It may have been hard for you, but you held your ground. You were like, I'm going to fight, because you too would rather fight to the death before you lay down and let these people destroy you. And as a result, the people of Florida are still 10 toes down. Every comment, and I read them, every comment all the time is in staunch support of something you said, something you did. Like, the people believe you, and that kind of trust means something to you. If you were to ever capitulate, you would lose that. And I think all of us have that. You couldn't pay me if somebody said, oh, did y'all see Angela Rye? She is MAGA now. You couldn't pay me to believe it. I'm like, that's AI.
Yeah.
Like,
Hell
ain't no
would
way.
freeze over.
Right. So when I'm in the trenches with people like y'all, it makes me look at people who ain't got that kind of grit sideways.
That's real.
Well, I'm going to tell y'all, in the land of the upside down, and sadly, I'm going to confess this now, and backward shirts, there are some people who are standing 10 toes down, Tiff, and 12 of them unanimously stood 10 toes down in the Cardi B trial this week. She was accused of assault and battery and of allegedly scratching a security guard in the face and spitting on her. And the jury reached this verdict.
Let me go through each of the jurors. Was it unanimous?
Was it unanimous, juror number 1? Yes. Number 2? Yes. Number 3?
Yes.
Number 4? Yes. Number 5?
Yes.
Number 6?
Yes.
Number 7?
Yes.
Number 8?
Yes.
Number 9?
Yes.
Number 10? Yes. 11? Yes. And 12? Yes.
And I also think it's important for people to hear just a little bit of the testimony from the alleged victim.
When you were at the building and Cardi B exited the elevator on February 24th, 2018, what were the words that she used that were so hurtful?
She used a lot of words, and again, excuse my language, but she was like, bitch, that's why I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna get you fired. That's why you do security. Ah, that's why you do security. Ah, she was sticking her tongue out. She was flailing her arms up and down. She was jumping up and down. Body shaming me. I mean, racial slurs, just a lot.
And did she spit on you?
She did.
Did her spit actually land on your body?
It did.
So that is the testimony from the alleged victim. She sounds very triggered. Let's listen to Cardi B's highlight reel from this trial.
Do you prefer I call you Miss Almanzar, Cardi B, or it doesn't matter?
I mean, y'all can call me Cardi B. I was a little like, I don't want a guy that I work with to know I'm going to a vagina doctor. You following me, you're recording me. I'm just trying to check my cat.
Are we having a verbal altercation?
We having, I'll say, a debate.
And which one is your real hair? Or are they both real?
They're wigs. Because I'm pregnant and this girl's about to beat my ass. Hello?
Hello. Hello, I'm here.
I was looking at her face, but I wasn't looking like, she got a pimple on her face? She got a...
What was that?
I said, that's a lie. Out of here. Just trying to get some money.
Who's trying to get some money?
She is.
How do you know that?
Because she sued me for $24 million.
You said she's bigger than you? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How do you know that?
I mean, look. I mean, you have her medical records,
I don't
right?
have anything. I'm asking you the questions.
I mean, I was 130 pounds at that time.
So she's overweight, right? In your opinion.
Objection, relevant.
She's a little...
You don't need to answer me.
Okay.
So Cardi B is...
I wanted to hear her say, if we can, Nick, keep in part where she says she's security heavy. Because
I
that
think
shit
they
is
cut
good,
it.
though.
They cut it
She said
before
she
that part. But
security
yes,
It's a highlight reel where she says that. If I can find it, I'll send it to you, Nick, because security heavy is the best thing ever. She's like, she's security heavy. She look like she can
Cardi
protect
B.
the building.
I love Cardi B, man. I loved her since she did that damn video about healthcare.
Yes.
And them taking healthcare away, and she just trying to go and get her pussy
cat
checked.
Oh, wow. Andrew, she didn't say that.
I didn't say I said pussy check.
Oh, you
that's
did.
what she
You
said.
didn't say the P. Okay,
Quote.
got it. She said cat,
Quote.
actually.
That's what
She said cat.
No, that's not what she said in the
No,
video I
y'all,
saw.
on the healthcare video you talk about, she said the P word.
I just want to go get
on
out.
the healthcare
Yes.
video.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the trial. I
And when the
apologize.
government was shut down, she kept it the realest.
Well, that's what she was
on there.
saying. She was like, "We can't even go see our doctor. We just trying to go get out checked."
Yeah.
I was like, "This woman, please put her on." Cause she's like they people be trying her. She's like heavyweight smart.
I was
And
watching,
she's clever.
thinking like, why is Cardi B rapping? Like we need this level of, because she was very strategic. Like they were
Always.
First of all, if the lawyer for the plaintiff, if he's a lawyer, then I'm a lawyer, because
Hello.
this dude was 100%
Open-ended
terrible.
questions.
I didn't watch
Blowing
enough episodes of Law and Order SVU to know your questions are terrible, sir. And what he was trying to do was pigeonhole her and try to say she's not black. So he's like, "What is your background? Are you African American?" She was like, "I'm Afro-Caribbean."
Afro-Caribbean.
Like she was 10 steps ahead of him at every time. She was so smart, so strategic, and he did not appear to have prepped his witness because her testimony was not consistent.
All she could do is what she could do.
Well, she said something different in the immediate on-camera interview than what she was saying on the stand. They were playing this for her. You could tell that she was just like kind of making up things. And this idea that you had to get plastic surgery because her nail scratched you. Now, unfortunately, this week when they announced the verdict, a reporter asked Cardi B about some paternity issue. She threw a pin at him. So I do want our sister Cardi B to just be conscious and not put herself in those positions. But the reporter was like, "I love her. I would never sue her." But I'm a fan of Cardi B. I think I'm going to get her album, Am I the Drama? This could not have been better publicity.
We should get her here.
Shout out to Tubby, Sean Holiday, who was standing right by her side after the trial. Sean Holiday is a longtime music executive. and Wheeler High School. He went to Wheeler. We went to high school together in Atlanta. So just shout him out.
All right, ATL. Aliens.
Yeah. Angela, what did you, I mean, you're a lawyer. What did you think of all of it?
So I didn't watch the whole trial. I watched clips on social media. I felt like they were going to have a really hard time proving the case, in part because I agree with you. The questions coming from the plaintiff's attorney were, I don't know if he was trying to think he was dumbing down to talk to Cardi B, but it was not smart. And
Trash.
she got him. I think that she got him in lots of ways. And she knew when not to answer the question. She would pause and wait. I think very calculated. And I also think this case is nonsense. When you get to the closing argument and your closing argument is about what just happened outside with the reporter, and you also are saying, well, at least if y'all not gonna give her all the millions, at least give her $17,000 for a face. And if you're not gonna do that, at least give her 10 more. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Y'all can say you can give her $200 a day. What?
It was really bad. It was not well thought out or very strategic. And I think that a lot of people, particularly, just so you all know, from a venue standpoint, this was taking place in LA. So jurors in LA, people in LA are very used to the shakedown civil suits. And I think that people saw this for exactly what it was. So
she also had the jury.
Yes.
From like jump. She had the jury. I mean, the people, it was very clear she was endearing, that you could like her. And in fact, if we were ever interviewing, I would ask her, like, how do you keep the authenticity? I just feel like when she says it, then she says a thing, she like means the thing fully. And if she tempers around it, come on, please.
We'll treat you right. On the podcast.
We can ask Leonard. Leonard and Cardi B are very cool, so we can definitely ask our good brother.
Please help us get Cardi B on the podcast. I would love to hear from her. Lolo, can you reach out?
Please.
Lolo, can you put Cardi for next week on this podcast?
Well, and speaking of calls to action, I think we can definitely jump into ours.
Cardi.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into our calls to action. What y'all got this week?
Well, my first one is to Cardi B, and we would love to have you come on the podcast. You don't even have to talk about the trial if you don't want. I'd be interested in her thoughts and just what is happening in the world in general.
Agreed.
Yeah, right. I would love to hear from her on that. I'm sneaking and getting two. That was my first call to action.
I'll take your first one. I'll own it. Own it. That's mine.
Okay. My second call to action is be aware and be vigilant. Like, I really do think we have to brace ourselves for what's coming. I think I may have said in one of our group chats, Angela, that I thought this was like a show of force that was going to go away. And it very much seems like it's the beginning of something. And just every day I see something new that's like, wow, I can't believe this is what we're experiencing right now. As Black folks, we've been through a lot. I did not imagine we would be going back this far in our civil rights being rolled away, and just, you know, the acceptance that the Constitution, our laws, our rules, our social norms and mores, they are all literally just pixie dust that can just go away. So I invite people to brace yourselves, be vigilant, take it seriously. I've had friends like, oh, they're not going to bother my son. He goes to Gonzaga. He's in private school. And it's like, I can guarantee you they're not going to look at your son and say, oh, that's Sarah and John's son. He's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. You're in danger. Your kids are in danger. So America is in danger, girl. So be vigilant.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tiff.
What's
Andrew?
yours? I took her first one.
He took Cardi B.
So I didn't understand.
That's our call to action to Charlemagne. Get us Cardi B.
Got it. Okay. Leonard, get on it. I think mine is, you know, in this moment where we are drinking from a fire hose, as Tiff just noted, our civil rights have been rolled back. I think we expected some of that, but certainly not at this pace. It's a neck-breaking pace. As someone who is battling high blood pressure and has not taken the time to work out, I encourage you all to prioritize, even if it's just an hour a day. Be accountable with me. Hold me accountable to it. To take care of yourself. And I think the other thing that's really important, I think I've been spending a lot of time being reflective of how precious life is. Our good sister friend, Carrie Champion, recently lost her grandmother, and shared with us, and on her podcast, Naked with Carrie Champion. I hope you all will tune into that as well on iHeart. She talked about how much her grandmother meant to her. The fact that she's in sports now is because of her grandmother, who played basketball and has argued that she made up the 3-pointer herself.
All right.
But as we mourn the loss of loved ones, whether it is recent or it is further away, I think it's take the time to feel your feelings for grief, whether it comes in the form of mourning the loss of someone dear to you, or you're mourning the loss of a country you once thought you knew. Whatever it is, take the time to feel your feelings, ride the wave, because you cannot control that wave. That is one thing that you have to surrender to. And if you need support, definitely see a therapist. And finally, please remember, everybody, to check your tags and not put your clothes on backwards. I just don't know what happened this morning. It's scratching my chest. I was like, you know what? And I said, it was like, it's sitting up kind of high. I don't know. Don't put your clothes on backwards.
Forward.
We got enough backwards happening.
You heard a fashion forward.
Exactly. Can I
You're
ask
the
what
opposite.
I did not mean to be crisscross today, but jump. Okay.
Bring it back. Everything is retro. What you said, workout for an hour a day. May I ask, what are you doing, or what are you planning to do for your 1 hour workout?
Yeah, so I used to love getting on my Peloton. I think I'm going to get back on the Peloton, especially because it felt like church on a bike. I really miss my sis, Angela Manuel Davis's classes, but church on the bike is a good thing. Yes, I would. Yeah. So Peloton is not like Angela Manuel Davis, but yes, Tiff, you are right. It's so different, but I would do that again. And I'm thinking about variety in workouts. I need to not feel like I'm in monotony for me to be excited about it. I definitely need to do more yoga because my breath work, I need to work on my breath work. So yeah, those are the things that I'm thinking of right now. And I'm going to start with 20 minutes. I'm going to try to get on that Peloton today, because right now,
my
Sister
Peloton
Girl is
right
putting on
there.
these pounds like.
Drop it in the chat, whatever
It ain't
whatever
been
you're
turned
doing
on in
every
about
day.
2 years.
Right. And this is the other thing. I mean, it matters how you feel about yourself. So I definitely honor what you're saying. But Angela is so tiny. And I feel like you're comparing yourself to like 10 years ago. And, right. I'm like, people.
I'm comparing myself to the clothes I can't fit.
Okay.
Get some
I
grown
think if
lady
y'all
clothes
see,
then.
nobody's going to see Angela and be like, she's overweight. Like, she is so tiny. But I do hear you, and it's about health, not just weight. So we should all take care of ourselves. But you definitely, even
my blood
pictures of
pressure.
you
You like argue with my blood pressure and my clothes.
No, that's fair. Yeah, blood pressure, definitely health.
Yeah,
Your
argue with my
health
blood pressure and my clothes.
Yeah, but your clothes.
Yeah, I've been getting all my labs. I also. This is my last thing on health today, because I didn't mean to do a whole health mini pod, and I know we over, but I will say this too. I use this. I'm not gonna say the name of the service until they sponsor the podcast, but I use a service. I'll tell y'all offline. That is very, very thorough. You can get all your labs done, like blood work for each organ, and then they give you clinical notes about each of these areas. Very, very thorough. And what I love about it now is there's also a cancer screening where I've been told, because cancer runs in my family, my mom, of course, dealing with it now, like check. So I'm getting my mammogram next week, a colonoscopy the week after that, and I'm getting all these labs. They're costly, but it is so much cheaper than your hospital bill if you have to fight cancer. So I'm here for it, y'all. I'm trying to get better.
I love that.
Rate,
it's an inspiration. We all need to do that.
Subscribe.
Yes, rate, review, subscribe. And if you like what you heard today, share with a friend, please. So we can be in each other in
Welcome
person,
home,
and
y'all.
so our bank account can get off COVID.
I know. That is so true. So as always, we want to remind everyone to leave us a review and subscribe to Native Land Pod. We're available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. If you're looking for more shows like ours, check out the other shows on our Reason Choice Media Network. Spolitics with Jamel Hill, Off the Cup with S.E. Cup, and our newest edition, Now You Know, with 13-year-old Noah DeBarasso. Be sure to give those a follow, and don't forget to follow us too on social media. Also, fan base, a little teaser for something that's coming up, and subscribe to our text or email list on nativelandpod.com. We are your hosts. I'm Angela Rye. There's Tiffany Cross, and that's Andrew Gillum. Welcome home, y'all. There are 425 days until midterm elections.
Before we go, can I ask, what are we talking
Native
about?
Land Pod is a production. Okay. but then we'll make sure we slot that in ahead of time.
Sorry.
Yes. What are we talking about, Andrew? Would you like to tell the audience what we're talking about on the mini pod today?
I don't know. What are we talking about? What y'all want to talk about?
I think we are
is that
talking
right?
about social media. I thought we had Isaac Hayes who was going to come on.
Well, I'll be learning a lot.
Yes. But I think it's more than media. I want to talk about like platforms. A lot of people got off Twitter, and I remember Angela making the point like, okay, but if you're getting off Twitter, but you're still on Facebook, like basically all these tech bros are problematic. So anyway, I want to get into that. Oh, and Lolo has popped in to say
here.
something
Lolo,
to the,
you all right?
viewers. I guess
We gonna wrap.
Lolo has something to say.
She back off. Okay.
Lolo is at the racetrack.
She was like, I'm just making sure y'all know
Simulating-
I'm here. Hey boo, hey girl.
Lolo,
Simulating
the
the race
today,
experience.
So I just want to say what's up. Anyway, I interrupted our closing because I wanted to know what we were talking about on the mini pod. So my bad.
Yes, absolutely. We are going to be talking with Isaac Hayes and Tamisha Harris, I believe is her name, who is a producer. And they recently had a conversation on the importance of us utilizing our own Black-owned platforms. And as you all know, we recently had a conversation about how we should engage from a listener question that challenged us. So we are going to definitely get into that and so much more on our mini pod. You can also check out our solo pods. And I will tell y'all, Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Thank you for joining the natives. Intentional with the info on all of the latest. Rod Gillum and Cross connected to the statements that you leave on our socials. Thank you sincerely for the patience. Reason for your choice is clear. We're so grateful. Took the oath to execute roles. Yeah, faithful. Preserve, defend, and protect the truth. Even if painful. Welcome home to all of the natives. We thank you.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.